Super.
What?
You want to go ahead? Reading the project description.
Oh. Read all instructions carefully, not following instructions result in or
Maybe a little bit louder.
read all instructions carefully, not following instructions will result in you not earning the score you want on this assignment. In completing this project, you will be able to read structured input from text file using Python file handling, write structured output to text files in specified format, process structured string data, and extract useful metadata. Use and manipulate data structures like lists, tuples, and dictionaries, sort and rearrange data to make it usable, compute basic statistics like average string length.
Okay, so the project name is like Archive Reconstruction System, LORE Vault Recompiler. And these are the learning outcomes. This time you will read the structured input from the text file. So previously we read only the text file or write to the text file. But right now we have the structured input file. And then we need to write to the file in a structured way. And then process the structured string data and extract the useful metadata. I'll show you what does mean by the metadata. Use and manipulate data structure like lists, tuples, and dictionaries. We already have covered lists and tuples. Next week we'll be starting with the dictionaries. So you'll be using any of the trees or all of those trees for your project. You need to sort and rearrange the data to make it usable. Compute the basic statistics like average string length. Okay, done. Mission brief.
After Earth's collapse, the last fragments of human knowledge were loaded into encrypted storage vaults aboard the Nova Exodus fleet. These archives, known as LORE, Legacy of Recorded Earth, were saved in partial scrambled form. Each file represents a single digital book or manual crucial for rebuilding civilization on Nova Terra, the fleet's destination. Each archived book was tagged with a 3-letter identifier and fragmented into scrambled lines. Now your mission is to write the software lore recompiler that processes these files, reorders them, analyzes their structure, and produces reconstructed versions to be stored in the colony's permanent memory banks.
Okay, so the one important information here is like each book was tagged with a 3-letter identifier. For example, like ALG, TTL, and WO. This is like an example. Okay, what do you need to do, Gavin? Project description.
You are given a set of book archive files, each named as book code.txt, such as ttl.txt. Each line in the file contains a line of text and its original line number separated by a vertical bar.
Okay. For example, like it was the best time of time, it was the worst time of time. This is like our text, and then a bar sign, then a line number 1. So the text contains including the quotation, not just the text itself. So if you are calculating the length, it should calculate. So it should consider the double quote, single quote, comma, or full stop. That is a part of the text. Okay. Go ahead.
However, these lines are out of order. Your task is to read the contents of the scrambled archive file, reconstruct the correct order of the lines by sorting based on their line numbers, identify the longest line in the book. If multiple lines tie, choose the one with the higher line number.
Okay, so if there's a tie condition, like if you see there are like multiple lines with the same length, you need to break the tie with the highest line number. For example, like if we have the same line length with number 10, for example, for the next line, then the line number 10 will be at the first position. Okay.
Compute the average line length rounded to the nearest integer.
That means if you have a fractional value from the average line, you need to round it to the nearest integer. Okay.
write all this information into a new file named book code. And do you want the
Yeah.
carrots included? Sweet.
So book code can be anything. That's why I just put it here as a code sign. So it could be anything with a 3-letter code like TTL, ALG, whatever it is. Whenever you have this book file name, for example, like ttl.txt, you need to use the TTL here, then underscore, then book.txt. That means you need to generate the output file name from the input file name. Okay.
The longest line, sorry, book code, the longest line.
No, so
I'm
the
sorry.
structure should be like this. First line is the book code, the 3-letter code, then the longest line. Inside the parentheses, you need to put the line number, then a colon, then the longest line text, including the quotation, comma, whatever it is. Then second line, third line, so first line is the TTL or whatever the book code, longest line. Third line is the average length, colon, then the average length up to rounded to the nearest integer. Then from 4th to onwards are the ordered book content lines go there. That means ordered book content. That means it is not including the line number. If this is the line itself, you need to put the text only, not the line number. So line number are only used to sort the content. Good.
Your program must accept a single archive file from the command line.
So that means you need to get the input from the command line. It could be anything, but in this particular example project, we'll be using .txt file.
Parse each line for content and line number. Sort the lines based on their line number. Identify the longest line using both length and tie breaking by higher line number. Calculate the average line length rounded to the nearest whole number. Write the structured output into a new file, book code
Underscore text book.txt. So these are the required things that you need to do. Here's the input. You need to get the input from command line, one single book. It could be anything, .txt. First, each line from that text for the content and the line number. So you can see here, this is a sample line here, but there are like multiple lines in that particular text file. For each line, you need to extract the content and the line number. Then sort those lines based on their line number at the end. That means you need to extract those two information in two different places. Or maybe you can use a tuple or any other data structure. And then sort the line based on the line number, identify the longest line. Longest line means whenever you're counting it by character, it's the longest. Okay, it includes any punctuations or any special character at the very end. And if there's a tie breaking condition, use the higher line number to break the tie. Hopefully, so the line numbers are unique, so definitely this is the only way to tie break. You need to calculate the average line length. So for example, this line is 10, another is 5. So the average is like 7.5. But you need to round it to the nearest whole number. That means 8. And make sure this time we don't have any output file as an input. You need to generate the output file name from the input file name. Whatever the book code.txt, use that book code, then underscore book.txt. This is the file name for your input file. It shouldn't be any static one. It should be dynamic. What do you mean by the dynamic? Depending on the input, you will generate the output file name. Not just whatever you're putting here, like alg_book.txt, not like that. If the file name is like alg.txt, then it's fine. But if it is like ttl.txt, then your book code should be ttl_book.txt. Okay? Listen.
The program produces an output file for each book file given through the command line.
Okay, that means your program produced an output file for each book given. That means you're given one single file at a time. So we have like multiple files, but your program can only accept one file. And the program produces the correct text for another book file, similar type that are not given. So I have given here like 3 examples, input file and 3 output files. But so this is for the first rubric. For the second one, it can be a different one, but similar type. Similar type means like in that particular text file, the content will be in the same structure. So the structure is same, whatever the book name, whatever the file it is. So these are the known things, like known test cases. You need to create unknown test cases. So this is for that one. This is for the unknown test case. And you can see here, there are like 40 points here. So 40 points for known text, 40 another points for the unknown text. So if your program can solve these 3 things perfectly, and you can create some other test cases with small items, if it works, then it can be worked for the unknown test cases. Then these 3 things are the very common things. First one, like third one, the program contains a main function with conditional execution. You already have used it. All variable names in the code follow the Python snake case or camel case, whatever you prefer. There is no global code. What is meant by the global code? Arthur?
Just the conditional main formatting.
No, like what does it mean by that there's no global code?
Everything is sorted within like functions and a main function that is executed with conditional
Yeah,
formatting.
everything should be under the function or under any block. You cannot write anything outside of any block. Okay, here's some example things. So you need to run your code by this way, Python 3. For my case, my software name is Python 3, but your can be different one, like different directory, like your exe file, Python exe on your computer. Then this is the file name, lower_vault.py. And the third one is the file name through the command line parameter. That means if you extract the command line parameter using the sys.argv, you have 2 items. First one is the source file name. Second one is the input file name. So this time input is from the command line parameter. You need to extract the input by this way and then generate the output to that particular file name. The file name is ttl common, then underscore book.txt. And what is the structure? Well, let me go to the slide. So this is the structure. So whatever the file in there, use the first letter, 3 letter. This 3 letter is the book code from that book. Then longest line in the parentheses, the line number, then colon, then the line itself. There's a space between colon and starting of the line. The second line is the average length, colon, the next rounded integer. So it could be anything in between 57 to 58. That's why I put 58, but it could be 58 exactly. I don't know. And then from line number 4 to onwards are the lines ordered by line number. Okay. Okay. So these are the sample input and output. So these are the first 4 lines from the ttl.txt file, but it doesn't have only 4 lines. There are like multiple lines there. And then you need to generate these output, and ... means like next onward lines. I have given 3 input files for your testing purposes, and these are the 3 output files. You can check your output file with those output files. Do you know how to compare files? Do you remember? Hash. Hash is the easiest way to compare 2 files. So here's the given files, and your like your system or your program can generate some output files, you will compare at the very end. If they're equal, that means you're on the right track. So these three are for the known output. That means for the 40 points. If your program cannot generate the same output for other files, then probably you'll not get those 40 points. That means you need to create at least some test cases. I told you 3 test cases, right? So you can generate 3 test cases, like 3 txt file by yourself, and you know that what is the longest line there, and what is the length, and what's the average of those 3 files or 1 file, whatever it is, your test case, and you will check those 2 things. If they're equal, that means you're okay, but I'll be checking with some other files. Hopefully that will be okay. If you can test your code with 6 files at least, probably it will be okay for my files. It's because they are the same structure. Okay. And the required thing, I think for this project, I found some of the students haven't put that information. This is the required things. Though there is no point for this one, that's why I haven't deducted any point. But this is the required thing so that I know you ask this particular group, that one, that one, that one. So that you will check by yourself. Well, there is no global code. You will check. Do you have any global code? No, you will pass it. So you will grade by yourself. Then I'll grade for you. Sometimes I found some of the students just put here like 10, but they don't have any main function with the conditional execution. Yes.
Does importing count as global?
No, as I told you, import doesn't count as a global code here. Only the import. Other than import, that can be treated as a global code. Import is okay for this class. Okay. Any question for this project? Well, the trickiest part is you need to extract. So extracting is very easy. There's like a bar sign, you can split it. There's 2 parts. Then the important thing is like how you can use any of those 3 data structures. List, tuples, dictionaries. Dictionary is not yet been covered, so I'll be covering those things in next week. But you need to think about how you can use the tuples or list to gather those information and sort at least. Then later on, you can use the dictionary. Okay. And also sorting, how you can sort those items. There are like various ways to sort. If there are like multiple items in a tuple or a list within a list. So list of tuples is like a 2-dimensional things, right? List of list and list of tuples are similar in a sense, like they're 2-dimensional. That means they're like multiple items in one particular item. So you need to know how you can sort. If you like to sort by the second item, for example, here is the list of tuples. My first tuple is my grade, and second tuple is my ID. Then again, grade and ID, maybe a different one. Then grade, ID. So this is like a tuple of grade and ID. If I ask you, can you sort the tuple by grade? Then definitely, well, sorting is like ascending order. 95 will be at the first position, 97 will be the second position, 98 will be the third position. But make sure whenever you put 95 to here, you need to put 110 to there, like they are together. Then 97 to second place is like 97 with 102 as the whole item. And 98 and 11 will be the very last one. Now, if I ask you, can you sort the items by the ID? That means you need to sort by the second item, not the first one. Don't worry about the first one. Whatever the first one, I don't need to know. So the 101 will be the first, including its grade. Then 102 will be the second, including its grade 97, then 110 will be the third position. So you need to know how you can sort a tuple by different items. By default, it will sort by the first item. If you just write sort, it will sort by the first item. But you need to know how you can sort it by the second item. I'll show you. Okay, this is the important thing for this project. Okay. Any question about the project description? Okay. So for the project, I already told you about the rubrics. Your program must do these things. I already read those things from the project description. And our input is a text file, and you need to get the input from the command line parameter. And you are not printing anything to the terminal. Rather, you are just writing to the file. And the file name is given from input file name. Whatever the bookcode.txt, you need to write bookcode_.book.txt. And these are the steps. So this is the input, this is the output, and these are the steps. This is the very first thing for solving a problem, right? I already discussed the input and output structure, but make sure when you run your code on your own computer, your Python exe, then your file name should be exactly the same. And then test with this one, or there are some other two files I have given as an input file, example input and output section. So your file name is given as a command line parameter, and your output should be like in this structure. Yeah, this is the important things. Like I'll test your code with unknown files with a similar structure. You need to write your own test cases. Own test case means like you need to create at least 3 files with the same structure. And you need to generate the output for those 3 files so that your program can generate the exact same output file so that you can compare it with the hash. Does that make sense? Any other question? No? Yes.
For the example, for our own example ones, do you just want us to find something that we can convert to a text?
Text means like what?
Like a dot text to input it?
So your file should be a .txt file.
Yeah.
So you don't need to convert it.
I guess I was asking for like the other examples, like the other books. How do you want us to create our own text?
Okay, let me show you the books. So here's the ttl.txt. I'm not going to ttl. For example, like ald.txt. Here's the ald.txt. So here's the file, total file, right? It is like how many files? How many lines? 2,987 lines, right? You'll create maybe only the 5 lines. Here's the 5 lines for a test case, for example. You create these 5 or 6 lines of code, and you know which is the longest one. So, like definitely this is the longest one, right? And you can easily find, well, count manually. What is the length of this line? Then length of this line, next line, next line. For example, the length of the first line is 30. This one is, let me create only the 3 lines. This is 30. This is like 5. And this is like 20. This is like an example, 15. So 15, 5, and 30. It means, what's the summation? 20, 50, right? 50 is the total length. So what's the average? 50 divided by 3, which is like 13, 15, 17.77, something like that. Then you need to convert it to 18, right? So you'll generate an output file like this. Well, whatever the file name, maybe the file name is ggl, right? ggl.txt. So your output should be like ggl. Then what's the longest line? Longest line is 478, right? And what is the line itself? The I, this one, right? So this is the longest line. And what's the average length? Question?
Learning. The average,
Which one?
learning,
The name? This one?
learning, right? Average. Never mind.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you. Then 18. And the lines are, those three lines should be sorted by these. Then that. This, right? So you will create a file called like ggl_book.txt, and the content should be like this, 6 lines or 7 lines. And you compare that output file with your generated output. Did I answer the question? Yeah. So you will generate 3 output files, for an example, like a test case. 3 input files and 3 output files for these things. Yes.
Are we supposed to submit our own test
No.
cases or, okay.
You don't need to submit any test case on any input file, just the source code. Okay. So when you point here like 40 out of 40 for this particular rubric, that means you have already tested with 3 unknown test cases for your code, right? So if I see you put here like 40, I assume that you already have tested. Then I'll test by my files. Those are unknown files. Okay. Any other question? No? Okay.